I will speak softly at first, because this moment is delicate. What I am about to say is not meant for noise or rushing. It is meant for the quiet place inside you where truth still lives, even when you try to ignore it. You did not arrive here by accident. You did not stumble onto these words by chance. There is a reason your eyes paused, a reason your breath changed slightly when you read the first line. Something older than fear, older than doubt, gently pulled you here. And now, before you decide whether to stay or turn away, Listina Euro, not with your defenses, not with your past experiences, but with the part of you that still hopes God has not forgotten you. I know the warning sounds strong. I know it feels heavy. You may already feel resistance rising, that familiar urge to scroll past, to dismiss this as coincidence or exaggeration. That urge is not random. It always appears right before something important. I am not here to threaten you. I am here to tell you the truth in love, because love does not stay silent when danger is near. Ignore this message and lose Go to Euro's protection is not a punishment spoken in anger. It is a reality spoken in care. Protection is not forced. It is received. And right now, heaven is asking for your attention. You have been walking through more battles than you admit. Some are visible, others live quietly inside your thoughts. You have learned how to smile while carrying fear. You have learned how to function while feeling exposed. There have been moments late at night, early in the morning when you sensed something was off, when you felt uncovered, like something once guarding you had stepped back. You tried to explain it away as stress, exhaustion, imagination. But deep down, you knew. You felt the difference. Go to Euro's protection is not just about danger you can see. It is about the things you never notice because they were stopped before reaching you. The accident that did not happen. The decision that fell apart just in. You see, protection works best when there is agreement. When a heart stays open. When humility remains. When a person still listens. Lately, you have been tired of listening. Tired of warnings. Tired of signs. You have said, maybe not out loud but inside, I just want peace. I just want this to stop. And in that exhaustion, you have started closing doors that were meant to stay open. I am not here to shame you for that. Heaven sees how tired you are. Heaven knows how much you have endured. But tiredness does not remove consequence. Even a weary traveler must still choose the right path at a crossroads. And Thesa this Momenta is one of those crossroads. There are forces that notice when a person grows weary. Not everything that approaches you comes with noise or obvious darkness. Some things come softly. Comfortingly. They offer relief without truth, peace without healing, escape without safety. They whisper, you don't need to be so careful anymore. They say, ve done enough. Let go. But they do not tell you what you are letting go of. Go to Euro's protection is not loud. It does not demand attention. It does not scare you into obedience. It simply waits for your consent. When you ignore gentle warnings, when you repeatedly silence the quiet checks in your spirit, when you harden yourself just enough to cope, something begins to shift. Not because God abandons you, but because you keep stepping outside the covering. You may think, nothing bad has happened yet. That is precisely the point. Protection often looks like nothing happening. And when nothing happens long enough, people forget why. They forget who was holding the line. Listen carefully now. This message is not about fear. It is about awareness. Fear paralyzes. Awareness protects. You are being made aware because something ahead requires clarity. There is a choice coming euro, some small, some subtle decision that will seem harmless. It will look reasonable. It will feel justified. But it will pull you further from the light than you intend. This message is being sent before that moment, not after, because prevention is mercy. You are not weak for needing protection. Even the strongest souls require covering. Even the most faithful hearts need reminders. Protection is not earned by perfection. It is maintained by humility. By listening. By stopping when something inside says, "Oh, pay attention." Right now, that voice is stirring again. You feel it as a slight discomfort. A seriousness. A sense that this is not just another message. Do not push that away. That is not anxiety. That is recognition. I know you have been tempted to handle things alone. To rely only on logic, strength, experience. You have told yourself you will figure it out as you go. But there are things unfolding around you that logic cannot see. There are shifts happening that experience alone cannot navigate. This is why protection matters now more than before. God has not withdrawn His love. Love remains constant. But protection flows through alignment. When you stay aligned, protection surrounds you naturally, like air. When you drift, it thins not suddenly, not dramatically, but gradually, quietly. And most people do not notice until they are already exposed. This message arrives as a mercy interruption, a deliberate pause placed gently yet firmly in your path. Right now, in this exact moment, you are being offered something precious, a chance to realign. You do not need elaborate rituals, long confessions, or dramatic life overhauls. All that is required is the quietest, most honest turning of the heart even if it happens in complete silence. Simply to say, within yourself, God, I am listening. That single, inward acknowledgement is enough. The moment the heart opens, even a crack, protection that had been held back by your own choices rushes back in like breath returning to lungs that had forgotten how to breathe. Do not mistake this directness for control, for domination, or for any kind of coercion. God does not control you. He never has and never will. The depth of respect He holds for your free will is almost incomprehensible. He honors your agency so completely that He will allow you to walk entirely uncovered, exposed to every wind and every shadow, if that is what you insist upon. Many people interpret such permission as cruelty or abandonment. It is not. It is the ultimate form of love that refuses to override the sacred gift of choice. Yet even in that wide latitude of freedom, heaven does not remain silent. Heaven warns. Heaven sends messengers in dreams, in sudden inner knowings, in the words of strangers, in repeated patterns that refuse to be coincidence. Heaven reaches out long before danger fully arrives, not after the wound has been made, but while there is still time to step aside. You may find yourself wondering why these words come so plainly, so urgently, almost without softening. The reason is painfully simple: softer whispers were already sent. Repeatedly. Patiently. They arrived in moments of stillness you quickly filled with noise, in gentle tugs at your conscience you labeled as passing moods, in scripture verses that seemed to leap off the page only to be quickly forgotten. Signs were given clear, repeated, unmistakable and yet they were brushed aside, explained away, postponed for a more convenient season. This is not the first call. It is merely the clearest one yet, the one that refuses to be ignored without deliberate effort. Even as these sentences unfold before you, something is already at work attempting to pull your attention elsewhere. You may feel it now, that sudden itch to close the tab, to scroll past, to minimize the window, to tell yourself you will return to this later when you feel more already. That restlessness is not random. Name it. Recognize it for what it is, an old, familiar distraction strategy. And then, just this once, choose differently. Stay. Let the words finish. Let them settle into the soil of your heart instead of skimming across the surface like rain on dry pavement. Please hear this carefully, you are not being asked to transform your entire existence in this single breath. You do not need to make sweeping vows you cannot keep, to suddenly become a model of perfect behavior, to erase every inconsistency overnight. That kind of pressure is not from heaven, it is the counterfeit urgency that always accompanies real invitation. What is being asked of you is far smaller, yet infinitely more powerful: willingness. Simply the willingness to listen again. The willingness to admit without shame, without performance that you need help. The willingness to remain under covering rather than insisting on walking alone because independence feels safer or more dignified. Protection, as heaven understands it, was never about being spared from every hardship. You have already walked through enough difficulty to know that exemption is not the promise. The promise is something deeper and more enduring, to be guarded while you walk through the fire, to be steadied when the ground shakes, to be shielded in the unseen places where real battles are fought. Spiritual conflict is not abstract poetry, it is as real as gravity, and facing it unshielded is like stepping onto a battlefield wearing nothing but everyday clothes. The enemy of your soul does not announce his attacks with trumpets. He prefers subtlety, confusion, numbness, exhaustion, pride masquerading as self-sufficiency. These are the quiet weapons that do the most damage over time. Look honestly at the season ahead. There are things coming, conversations, decisions, relationships, inner shifts that will require you to be unusually clear-minded. Calm. Anchored. Covered. Confusion is a luxury you cannot afford right now. Numbness is not rest, it is anesthesia that leaves you vulnerable. Pride disguised as independence is perhaps the most dangerous of all, because it feels noble while quietly cutting the last cords that connect you to safety. I speak these things with tenderness, not accusation. If you choose to turn away from this moment, it does not mean God stops loving you. His care never wavers, it is constant, unchanging, fierce in its constancy. What changes is your receptivity to that care. Ignoring the offer does not cancel the love, it simply means you have chosen, for now, not to receive what is being freely extended. And that choice carries weight. Not because heaven is vindictive, but because the natural consequences of walking uncovered eventually make themselves known. Gravity works whether we acknowledge it or not. So does spiritual reality. Pause here. Take a slow, deliberate breath. Let the air move through you. Let the sentence you just read linger a moment longer than feels comfortable. There is no rush. No deadline. Only invitation. You are not being asked to live in fear. Fear is a poor motivator and an even poorer protector. What is being asked is presence. Simple, honest presence. To remember who has been quietly shielding you all these years, even when you wandered far and attributed your survival to luck or personal strength. To stop assuming you can afford to drift indefinitely, that the margin of safety is infinite, that you can keep postponing alignment without cost. There are moments when your soul, weary from too many choices and too much noise, finally pauses long enough for a single question to rise: what do I do next? euro, and although that question feels heavy, the answer that returns is surprisingly gentle. Not complicated, not grand. It does not ask for rituals or elaborate preparations. It whispers something undramatic, yet deeply sacred: do something simple. Simplicity is how heaven often answers confusion. It speaks into the whirlwind not by matching its intensity but by cutting through it with clarity. Do something simple. That might mean lowering your defenses long enough to take a deep breath that is honest, not rehearsed. It might mean murmuring a prayer without knowing if it counts as prayer at all. It might mean just saying the name of the one who has never stopped seeing you. Because what matters is not the perfection of your words but the posture of your heart. Speak honestly, the voice urges. Speak to the one who already knows every hidden corner euro, every wound, every longing, every confession you have been too weary to make. The words you speak do not need to be beautiful. They do not need to sound holy. They can come fractured, trembling, confused, or angry. Heaven is not scandalized by the raw edges of truth. In fact, truth spoken in weakness is often what opens the strongest connection. So say what feels real. Even if the words stumble out only as a whisper that dissolves into your own breath, let them be heard. What matters most is the direction of your turning, the intent behind your sound. Say it simply: God, I am listening again. That single sentence, uttered with sincerity, holds power greater than long speeches drained of feeling. It is the spiritual equivalent of turning a key in a lock that has sat rusted for seasons. Something shifts when that key turns an interior mechanism you cannot see, perhaps cannot even feel at first but it moves. The door creaks open. Light slides through the edges like dawn creeping in after a long night. And in that light comes presenza steady, alive, and protective. This protection is not passive. It is alive, aware, and oriented toward you. It leans in like a guardian who never sleeps alert but gentle, ready but never imposing. It waits not because it lacks strength, but because love operates by consent, not coercion. Love will never force its way through the door. It patiently hovers, waiting for that sigh of permission, for that smallest opening you might not even realize you have given. Consent can be as simple as a sigh of recognition. It can be as subtle as a decision to remain open for one more moment to not dismiss this, to not scroll past, to stay. That is all heaven needs to begin again. Do not ignore this moment. Not because punishment is waiting on the other side of neglect, but because love has dared to interrupt your regular programming. Something or someone has paused the chaos to hand you an invitation before you walk into harm unprotected. This is not scolding. It is mercy in motion. It is grace stepping in before you trip too far toward forgetfulness. It is heaven whispering, I still see you worth preserving. Even now, heaven sees you as worth guarding, worth guiding, worth loving. Even when you forgotten your value, love hasn't. The mercy that placed this pause in your path is the same mercy that has carried you through every storm before. Maybe you didn't recognize it back then, the avoided accident that you chalked up to luck, the unexpected comfort that came right when you were unraveling, the strength that showed up just before breakdown. But mercy was there. It always was. And that same mercy is here again, holding space for your turning. You might sense it as quiet conviction in your chest, or a warmth that rises when you read these words, or just a tug that tells you, stay a little longer. However it manifests, do not rush past it. I am still here, says the presence. Watching. waiting. Without weariness, without resentment. These are not the words of a distant deity tallying your failures. They are the voice of one who keeps vigil, who has never given up the watch. Holding the line even when you wander. Carrying a shield you forgot existed. Protecting spaces around your life that you did not know were threatened. The voice continues Sayuro, not loud, but steady, I will not force you. I will not guilt you. The choice is still yours. Love always leaves room for choice, because without choice, love ceases to be love. So he waits. Not with condemnation, but with quiet strength. Not with punishment, but with wide-open patience. But if you choose even hesitantly to turn back, something real begins to happen. It does not always sweep through like a revival wind or announce itself with trumpet blasts. Sometimes it begins almost imperceptibly, like thaw after winter the first drip of melted ice, the first shoot pushing through cold soil. Yet make no mistake is happening. The numbness starts to lose its authority. The confusion begins to loosen its knots. A slow but sure clarity returns. Peace not as compensation, but as consequence begins to flow back into alignment. The internal tension eases, not because circumstances changed dramatically, but because you did. Because your soul remembered where home was. And in that remembrance, something sacred awakens, the awareness that you were never of this chaos. That beneath the noise and panic runs a quieter current of divine steadiness. You had simply lost tune with it, and now you are hearing again. There will, of course, be days ahead when distractions return, heavy and persuasive. The same patterns will whisper that this was a fleeting emotion, a sentimental moment. They will try to rewrite the narrative, it was nothing, just a passing feeling. But that is the oldest deception the one that tries to convince the awakened heart that its awakening was an illusion. When those moments come, remember this truth, you already carry within you the simplest reset of all. You do not need to rebuild from rubble. You only need to turn again. Turn not in fanfare or guilt, but in quiet honesty, egod, I am listening. Each time you do, light returns. Each time you do, the covering grows thicker, steadier, more impenetrable. Every return builds muscle, deepens trust. You will find that peace becomes not an event, but a state of being a steady hum beneath your Liffey shifting melody. And though storms may circle and voices of distraction may rise, something inside you will remain anchored. Because long before storms existed, there was an anchor designed for them. You are not, and never were, alone in this. Isolation is one of the world's loudest lies. It drapes itself over your mind, whispering that no one sees, no one knows, no one cares. But that whisper dies quickly in the light of truth. The real truth quieter, slower, and infinitely stronger is this, you are seen. You are known. You are loved with a persistence that has outlasted every season of your forgetfulness. Even now, as you sit here reading, that love is not standing far away, waving from a distance. It is closer closer than your very breath. You don't have to import it from somewhere else or earn it through better behavior. It has been circling, guarding, leaning close long before you invited it in. The invitation now is simply to remain aware. You might imagine divine love as distant an enormous light somewhere high above. But the truth is, it is near enough to feel the tremor of your sigh. It bends low enough to hear unspoken prayers, to interpret tears as sentences. The divine does not require eloquence to understand you, your heartbeat alone is a language heaven comprehends fluently. So rest. You do not have to strive your way back to earth. You do not have to fix yourself before coming near. The invitation was never conditional. It simply asks, will you stay open? Every whisper of faith, no matter how small, has compound impact in the spirit realm. Every moment you choose openness over cynicism, listening over shutting down, something shifts unseen. The air around your life clears a little. The heaviness begins to thin. Ita euro s not dramatica euro, but ita euro s real. Yes, there will still be storms. There always are. But now, you will walk differently inside them. Protected not because harm cannot touch you, but because you are held by something larger than harm. Because peace will no longer depend on circumstances. Because the presence that watches has chosen you as a dwelling place, and no wind can unhouse what heaven inhabits. Do not underestimate the power of small consent. Heaven has never measured you by volume or by spectacle. It does not wait for grand speeches, dramatic gestures, or perfectly formed prayers. It listens for the smallest movement of your heart. A sigh counts. A pause counts. The quiet moment when your shoulders drop counts. A single sentence, barely formed, spoken with honesty rather than confidencia a euro egod, I am listening a euro, is enough to shift an entire unseen order back into motion. You were never meant to strain to be heard. You were never asked to shout across the heavens. You were only asked to turn, even slightly. To soften, even briefly. To allow your attention to move from the noise around you to the stillness within you. That is consent. That is alignment. And it is far more powerful than you have been taught to believe. You might find yourself saying those words under your breath in a crowded room where no one would ever notice. You might whisper them during a sleepless night when your mind keeps racing and anxiety presses against your chest like a weight. You might say them while driving, while washing dishes, while staring at the ceiling, while walking through noise or silencia euro, it truly does not matter. The setting does not add or subtract from the power. Each time you say it, something in heaven stirs with recognition. Each time, light adjusts its path toward you. Each time, protection leans in a little closer. You may not feel immediate fireworks. You may not feel anything dramatic at all. And that is where many people misunderstand faith. Faith is not proven by fireworks. It is proven by the steady pulse of yes that remains even when sensation fades, even when emotion is flat, even when doubt lingers. Faith is not a moment. It is a posture. And maturity is learning to remain open even when you are not being entertained by signs. This is alignment. Not the loud kind that announces itself, but the quiet kind that holds. The kind that keeps showing up even when the feelings come and go. The kind that stays when certainty is unavailable. That is where real transformation takes root. As you choose this path of soft turning again and again, something subtle begins to change. Your perception of divine companionship deepens. You stop imagining God as distant, easily offended, or constantly evaluating your performance. You begin to recognize a presence that has been steady all along a euro, patient, attentive, responsive in ways that were invisible when you were looking only for dramatic proof. You start to see the past differently. The delays you once resented begin to look less like rejection and more like protection. The detours that frustrated you begin to reveal themselves as redirection. Even the heartbreaks, the losses, the moments when things fell apart despite your prayers euro, these too start to shift in meaning. Not because they were painless, not because they were good in themselves, but because you begin to sense that they were not abandonment. They were recalibration. The protection that felt silent was not inactive. It was working beneath the surface, rerouting harm before it reached you, blocking outcomes you could not have survived, guiding circumstances toward your true good even when the process hurt. Some answers came in the form of closed doors. Some guidance came disguised as disappointment. Some mercy arrived wearing the shape of delay. At the time, you could not see it. You only felt the loss, the confusion, the waiting. But one day euro, perhaps quietly, perhaps unexpectedly euro, you will look back and see it clearly. You will notice a pattern woven through your life, a thread of care too consistent to be coincidence. You will see moments when things almost happened but did not. You will see paths you were sure you needed that never opened. You will see how certain relationships ended just before they could cause deeper damage. You will see how timing that once felt cruel was, in fact, precise. And this realization will humble you. Not in a way that crushes you, but in a way that softens you. It will free you at the same time. Because you will understand something essential: love was never bargaining with you. It was never conditional. It was never waiting for you to get it right. It was always covering. The same love that held you during seasons of confusion now teaches you peace. The same presence that once waited outside the locked door of your heart now walks freely through your inner rooms. It fills your silence. It settles your breath. It becomes familiar, not because you mastered faith, but because you stopped resisting being accompanied. Nothing spectacular was required for this shift. No perfect repentance. No flawless belief. No spiritual performance. Only simple consent, offered again and again. A willingness to be honest instead of impressive. A willingness to say, a euro oe I don't a euro t understand, but I euro am still here. A euro a willingness to listen even when you are tired of listening. And so, again and again, you return to simplicity. When the question resist a euro, as it always does a euro, what do I do next, a euro, the answer does not change. Do something small. Speak honestly. Whisper if you must. There are no formulas you need to memorize. No special words that unlock favor. No sequence you have to get right. Just truth, offered from the heart. A euro e God, I am listening. A euro. That is enough. It has always been enough. It turns the key without force. It lifts the latch without strain. It opens the door gently, the way light prefers to enter. Light does not break down doors. It waits for openings. And once invited, it does what only light can do: a euro, enter, heal, protect, and stay. You do not need to worry that mercy is running out. It is not. Grace is not keeping score. It is not tallying your inconsistencies or measuring your spiritual discipline. Protection is not growing tired of you. It is leaning in still, patient, steadfast, adjusting again and again for your humanity. Heaven is not retreating because you are imperfect. It has always known you are. It has always accounted for your doubts, your fear, your hesitation, your moments of withdrawal. Nothing about your struggle has surprised it. Nothing about your inconsistency has disqualified you. Even when faith feels faint, the faintness counts as faith. Even when all you have is a fragile willingness, that willingness matters. The smallest flicker pushes back darkness. The smallest turn reorients alignment. The smallest opening invites wholeness in. You do not need perfect trust to begin again. You never did. You only need willingness. Willingness to not close the door completely. Willingness to pause instead of hardening. Willingness to listen, even if you are not sure what you will hear. And if you have reached the end of these words still unsure, still hesitant, still questioning whether this invitation was truly meant for you, listen closely now. It was. Not because you are special in the way the world defines special, but because you are alive, aware, and searching. Because something in you recognized these words and stayed with them. Because you did not scroll past without feeling something pause inside you. Because your heart leaned in, even if your mind remained cautious. That is evidence enough. The fact that you are here, reading this, breathing, considering, wondering, that is not an accident. It is a pause arranged with care. An interruption woven into your moment. A soft collision between divine timing and your searching heart. The invitation has not expired. The light has not moved on. The covering has not lifted. It is still leaning in, patient as ever, unhurried, unoffended, unafraid of your questions. And through it, through your certainty and your doubt, your courage and your hesitation, your faith and your fear, that same voice continues to speak. Quiet. Unwavering. Faithful. I am still here. And so is he.